Back to Young Engineers of Today. I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope you're ready to continue with SketchUp, because that's what we're going to work on today. I imagine we will probably finish up what we're designing by, I don't know, Wednesday maybe? And then we've got one more lesson, and then we'll probably be moving on to another subject. Now, when I say one more lesson, I mean one more presentation, which may last another 2 or 3 sessions. But as it stands right now, we're getting pretty close to the end of SketchUp, which, you know, may be exciting news, may not be. Who knows? Again, if it's not your bag, that's fine. We just, just want to introduce you to this kind of stuff so that you are at least familiar with it. So we spent last time making the temple. Also, hey Jacob, I saw your email. Let me know, I guess, in another email what the message was. So I'm getting SketchUp open right now, and we can continue with the temple. Okay. Well, it happens. It happens. At least at least they're on the way. Ripperoni indeed, though. I apologize if everything's running very slowly right now on my computer too. My hard drive is failing. I have a new one coming in the mail. But honestly, I don't think there is much longer left for this hard drive. Let me go ahead and open up the temple that we've been working on. So this is what we have so far. We've got the base, we've got some stairs, we've got a bunch of columns, and that's it. But I mean, it's starting to come together pretty well. Like, I think it's pretty cool how we were able to do the columns. Now what we need to do is we need to move a set of columns over to the other side as well, because, I mean, it'd be kind of weird if this temple only had columns on one side of the building. Generally, things aren't supported very well that way. So we need to go ahead and make sure we've got columns on the other side. Now, here's the deal. It's actually going to be pretty easy to move another set of columns over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to select all of the columns that we have on one side. I could do a box select as well, but I just want to make sure that I'm selecting only the columns. Then I'm going to go up here to the Move tool, and I'm going to hold down Control and make sure I move along the red axis. Oops, I'm a dingus. Go back to the Selection tool. We'll use the Band Select this time and see how I've got extra stuff. I don't want that extra stuff, so I'm going to work at deselecting it. That's the only problem with doing something like that is ensuring that you don't have additional stuff selected, because when we control move, we would actually bring along copies of those random lines and faces and things like that, and then our design would end up looking really strange, like there'd be faces floating off in the in the space next to it. Anyway, let me go ahead and move this. What is it? 41.5 feet. So 41 feet and 6 inches. Bring it across on the red axis. Make sure you're moving it on the red axis, and then just type in 41.5 and a single quote, and bam, hit enter. And there you go. Now we've got a matching set of columns on the other side. Pretty exciting, right? Oh my gosh. Oh. So I'll give everybody just like a minute or two to go ahead and do that. It shouldn't take too terribly long, but selecting everything takes a minute. So like I said, I'll give everybody a minute for that. 41.5 feet. The base of the temple is, let me go ahead and measure it. It's 46 by 146 by 2. So it's 46 feet wide, 146 feet long, and 2 feet tall. This is the secondary base. The one on the bottom is 50 by 150 by 2. What we ended up doing was creating the 50 by 150. Well, here, create the 50 by 150 by 2 base, and then create a 2-foot offset on top of it. Use the offset tool and make a 2-foot offset, and that will actually create the top base that you need. You can just pull that one out by 2 feet, and that will be your top base. You create the 12-sided polygon by using the Polygon Tool. As soon as you select it, you see how I've got I just clicked once in order to select the Polygon Tool. I brought my cursor down here. You see I got the little blue shape with the pencil. I can just type in 12 and hit enter, and it'll make it a 12-sided polygon. Then I can click once. Now you can see I can change the size of it. Then I can just hit 1 and a single quote and enter to make it 1 foot in diameter. Yeah, sure. The bottom base is 150, or it's 50 feet by 150 feet by 2 feet tall. You guys got to make sure you save before you quit the program. And I'm not just picking on you specifically. There are a few people who are asking the same question. So yeah, you guys definitely have to make sure you save the program. You save any of your work before you quit anything. It's just a good habit to get into. Okay, so presumably, I guess raise your hand if you're still copying the pillars over. If you're at an earlier step, uh, don't raise your hand just because I apologize. I'm not sure we're going to be able to wait, for you guys to, make the pillars and then copy them across the back and then over to the side and everything like that. But if you're just copying them from the left side to the right side, still go ahead and raise your hand. All right, I got one hand up. Perfect. Oh, two hands. All right, excellent. Just go ahead and put your hand down once you finish that, just so I know. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said in the first couple of minutes. I did. I was going to ask you to actually send me the error message as well, so that I can spend some time figuring that out. But thank you for letting me know. So you managed to get it installed, but actually opening it. Okay, so what, you just double click it and nothing happens? Huh. All right. I'll have to do some research on that. Unfortunately, that is a trickier problem to diagnose because, there could be anything happening there. Usually when there's an error message, it's a lot easier to sort of narrow down what exactly the nature of the problem is, but obviously that's not your fault. I'm just wondering why it's happening. But I'll send you a follow-up email either later today or early tomorrow. Try and figure out what exactly is going on. I mean, it's still a good program to at least get up and running, just to test it out and get familiar with it, because a lot of the stuff that you'd be working with in architecture or mechanical engineering or anything like that will be using stuff like this. So if that's a path that you possibly would like to pursue, or even if you're just curious about, I would recommend getting some familiarity with this kind of stuff so that you know like what you'd be dealing with on almost a daily basis, Even if you're just interested in computer art. I mean, not a terrible thing to spend some time getting familiarized with. All right, so we've got all the, so basically, this is what we're going to do next. Unpause my screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rectangle down here on the, what's the word I'm looking for? On the ground. And I'm going to make it 100, or it's going to be 46 feet by 146 feet. You shouldn't have to worry about the dimensions. Like I said, you would create an offset, a 2-foot offset on the top of, so like, okay, so this is let's just pretend for a moment that this is your bottom base. What you do is you click on the offset tool, you click on the side, and then you just type 2 feet and you would create a 2-foot offset, and then you could pull this up in order to create your upper base. Oh. 3 foot by 3 foot by 1 foot. For sure. All right, so yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press or pull this up by 2 feet. So now we've got a 2-foot 46 by 146 by 2 foot, which is exactly the same dimensions as this upper base. And this is going to be our roof. However, we're going to do something a little bit different. What I'm going to do is, once I've done that, I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint to the other midpoint on the top. So if I put if I select the line tool, I can find that little cyan circle that's labeled midpoint, and I'm going to click from there. I'm going to draw a midpoint line to the back. Again, you make sure you line it up against the back midpoint there. Boom. So now we've got an extra line. But what good does that do us? Well, I'll tell you. So if I take the Move tool and I select just this line and I click and drag up, I want to make sure I'm moving along the blue axis, but I can actually create a sloped roof. So let me go ahead and there we go. Let me actually move it up a specific amount. So we'll make sure it's on the blue axis, and we'll raise it up, let's say 10 feet. Perfect. Now it's 10 feet tall in the middle, or 12 feet tall in the middle. So as you can see, I created a sloped roof that I can use for this. Then, using the Offset tool, I'm going to offset it by 1 foot on this side and 1 foot on this side as well. And then we can press it in. Whoops, wrong tool. We can press it in 2 feet. You could do it more if you wanted to. I'm just going to make it fairly simple there. And look at that. I've created a roof. So now what I can do is I can create an endpoint along the side that goes along the blue axis and is at the same level as the pillars. Then triple click. This is exactly the same process we used to get the square on top, and move this corner to my endpoints. And that actually is a little bit too low. So let me. I pushed in the triangle by 2 feet, just to have, something. $15 feet. It's going to be a wee bit floaty, and it's also not along the blue axis. Good Lord. So along the blue axis, 15 feet. Along the blue axis, 15 feet. Enter. Okay. So it should be 14 feet like I originally thought. Boom. Yeah, it's on the same level. I probably just wasn't grabbing it from the bottom corner. So yeah, dragging the corner of the roof to the the measurement line that we created will allow you to just place it on top easily. What is the offset distance for the indentation on the roof, and how deep do I go on? The offset distance is 1 foot, and you go in 2 feet. For sure. And I'll give everybody a few minutes to do that. Don't worry about what I'm doing here. I'm just doing this for just for the sake of doing it. Right, I'm not actually saying anything. Like I said, don't worry about what I'm doing here. I'm just doing this for the sake of doing it while you guys are working. I accidentally muted myself. Yeah, just supposed to be putting the roof on. I'm just doing this while you guys are putting the roof on, that's all. Because I know I went through a few steps all at once. Raise your hand if you're still putting the roof on or getting it oriented. All right, one more hand. But we're almost done. How odd, there's a little bit of overhang at the end. So each square is 1 foot tall. So you got 1 foot on the top and bottom, and then the actual cylindrical part is 12 feet. So it's 14 feet in total. All right, just a couple more minutes. Yes, yes. No, I'm still waiting for people to finish up. It'll be just a couple more minutes. Yeah, for sure. No, I have not seen that. That sounds interesting. All right, how's everybody doing? Raise your hand if you're still working on it. Good, good. Okay, well, I didn't see any hands come up, so we actually made some good progress today. We're further along than I anticipated, and actually, we're pretty much done with this temple. Now, if you wanted to, you could add details inside. You could, separate out rooms or, add like a fountain in the middle or something like that, but just by creating like a circle and then an offset inside of the circle by like, 1 foot or something like that, and then extruding the face on it. And bam, super easy fountain. So you can do stuff like that, in order to make the project more your own. But that does it for just the very bare bones basic design of it. Now that was a fair amount of work, so to say bare bones basic design is, I guess, sort of disingenuous, but regardless, there it is. This is your temple. And I know a couple of you have done it already, and this is all old news, old hat, and all that stuff. And that's completely fair, although it's always good to have a little bit of review. But for those of you who've never seen it before, congratulations, you made a very basic 3D model of a Greek temple, and it came out looking pretty okay. And it took a little bit of trickery, but it's kind of interesting. Like for instance, putting the circles on the 12-sided polygon just to make like the Pac-Man bites out of the side of it to make it look more like those Greek and Roman style pillars that have, you know, they're not entirely smooth all the way around. Basically, you learned how to use the offset tool in order to create, you know, more complex shapes. You learned how to use the copy and paste and the measurement tools in order to reliably, you know, add new features to it. Learn about combining the move tool along with the push-pull tool in order to create more complex shapes, like I said before. And basically just sort of with a little bit of ingenuity, we're able to create something delightfully complex. I gave my my temple ears, I guess. There, perfect, beautiful temple. Look at how beautiful that temple is. Pull this out. Now it looks kind of like a very simple V8 with pillars underneath it. Or the top half of a V8 with pillars underneath it. Anyway, let me undo that. Bring temple back to normal. So yeah, you might be going like, well, that was kind of neat, I guess, but like, what's the point? Well, the thing is, stuff like SketchUp is fantastic for working with what? 3D modeling. Let me fix this. And when I say that, I mean actually making things with like a 3D printer or something like that. So what, there we go. Insofar as your options are concerned, how could you potentially, possibly work with something like that in order to create a 3D model? Well, it's actually not nearly as complex as you might think. In addition, I mean, I can also show you guys the 3D warehouse. So we went over selection. We didn't actually go over color, but we could. We went over rectangle and circle and polygon, move and push-pull. Went over scale a little bit. The tape measure tool, which has been just absolutely invaluable throughout this entire process. Rotation, panning, zooming. Went over all that stuff. We can take a look at the 3D warehouse, though, and see what other people have made in SketchUp, just to give you an idea of what's possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, and then 3D Warehouse, and then Get Models. You could also share this if you wanted to, though I imagine there are probably a couple like that. But, well, let's see here. Let's just go ahead and pull this because this looks pretty cool. You can basically grab models off of a 3D warehouse and dump them right into your SketchUp. You download them and then they get placed into your SketchUp. So you can actually look at maybe how they were constructed. You can see what an end result might look like in SketchUp, how somebody might, you know, what people can do. So let's see here. It'll take a couple more minutes just to get completely downloaded. Have some water. All right. Now, part of the reason why this is taking a while is because this has a lot of triangles, essentially. That's how a lot of 3D models are measured, in the number of triangles that make up their model. Okay, so that downloaded. I got the hourglass. Means that SketchUp is figuring itself out. It's going to be a minute until it's probably, whoop, there we go. Ooh, hey, now I can place this someplace because it is tied to my cursor. So I'm going to go ahead and click right there. And we've got an entire component that is this house. Now there's some additional stuff added, like, you know, virtual plants and things like that, and a motorcycle and a car. But this car was also created in SketchUp. So was that motorcycle. But what I'm most interested in is we've got a couple of floor plans placed next to it, and then we've got the actual model of the place right here. So if we wanted to, we could zoom in. Whoa, I got myself stuck. There we go. Sort of. I think I'm inside a wall. Good Lord. Well, at any rate, it gives us a decent idea of, actually a very good idea of what this person wanted to do with their design, what they wanted the place to look like, and, you know, oop, here we go. There we go. Now we're inside. And now we're underneath the house. Okay, now we're inside. Sort of the design and the layout of the house, which, you know, is pretty cool. They've got stairs, they've even got these slatted doors for the garage and stuff like that. They've got a trellis on top. They've got the nice guardrail for the front stairs. If we look inside, come through the window. They've got sort of a little ante-room kind of a thing. So there's a fair amount that you can do with SketchUp. Now, SketchUp excels in shapes with right angles. So that is to say, well, angular shapes, not just right angles, but angular shapes in general. So that is to say, our temple, for the most part, you know, the pillars are a bit of an unusual situation. And this house, as you'll notice, has very few curved surfaces. Pretty much all of the surfaces are flat. Now, they've got arcs and stuff like that, and they've got the cars. But on the whole, this house is predominantly straight lines, very few curved lines. And again, that's what SketchUp excels at. But it is possible to do, you know, curved shapes and things like that. And that allows you to have, you know, more freedom when you're using a 3D printer with this thing. But yeah, so you can download things from it. And you can actually take those models that you downloaded or created yourself and turn them into 3D objects using a 3D printer. And that involves converting it to a specific type of file called an STL file, which I believe stands for stereolithography, if I remember correctly. So you would need to basically export your file as an STL, and then, yeah, so you could export STL files for 3D printing. And then you could probably, you would be able to put them into a 3D printer controller, have the 3D printer controller turn it into a G-code file and export it directly to the 3D printer. So then you can get stuff like, you know, these little bird cages with birds in them, or this Poseidon statue. This Statue of Liberty has some crazy detail on it. Statue of Liberty, good Lord. Eiffel Tower has some crazy detail on it. I'm completely awake, I swear. You got a little rook. There's a bracelet thing here, a butterfly thing here. Now, these examples are actually incredible because there is a lot of detail and a lot of precision on these models, and they're very small, and that's not something you normally get from 3D printers. It's possible, but a lot of commercial 3D printers don't really have this sort of capability. So the fact that they were able to make these is actually pretty remarkable in and of itself. Not to say it isn't possible, but it is noteworthy. Anyway, so either way, you would be able to 3D print your models. If you made them larger, you could have them have better, you know, resolution and things like that. This is pretty cool, a 3D printed skull. This guy is the first 3D printed car. That's what he's hoping to basically mass market, or at least bring to the general public. A car that you can actually print with a 3D printer, which, as the caption suggests here, allows you to create cars with shapes that weren't possible before. You can create houses using 3D printing. I can actually spend a little bit of time talking about 3D printing. Why not? Sure. So what is 3D printing? How does it work? That's actually something we're going to cover. We're going to spend a little bit on Wednesday covering that. So what is 3D printing? How does it work? Examples of 3D printing, a brief history of 3D printing, and open source 3D printing. And we'll probably spend a little bit of time with that. We may spend some time screwing around in Tinkercad. We may convert these SketchUp projects to STL files so that, you know, if you were so inclined, you had a 3D printer at home, you could actually turn these into prints for yourself. You could actually 3D print your own little Greek temple that you made. So we'll get started on that on Wednesday, and then that actually should do it for SketchUp. And then we'll move on to a new topic next week. So hopefully that sounds like an interesting thing to look forward to. We'll go ahead and call it a class now, though. And I know we didn't get much done today, but hey, we finished our Greek temple at least, so that's pretty awesome. But we'll do the poll questions. We'll leave it open for question and answer time, and then you guys are more than welcome to head on out after the poll questions if you don't have any questions of your own, and we'll see you on Wednesday.